The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, all attendees. My name is Chris Brogan, and welcome to this conversation about becoming a healthy owner. I am the host for tonight and absolutely the least credentialed out of the whole bunch. The best I could say is, Jacqueline Carley's test subject sometimes. Around the horn, though, I'm going to introduce everybody here in the order that they show up on my screen. No idea if it's what it looks like on your screen. Dr. Terry Simpson, who is a surgeon, does all kinds of great stuff, is an expert in the land of culinary cooking and medicine, culinary medicine. Jacqueline Carley, a PhD student and amongst other things, certified in far too many certifications, including CrossFit endurance and all these other things, masters in nutrition and all that sort of thing. Tom Terwilliger went from rebel biker to Mr. America. God, I hope I got the right one. And all kinds of other leadership and growth things. If you've ever read a book with men's or a magazine with men's starting in it, including Man 2.0, Adam Bornstein probably had something to do with it, and has written many books, articles, and whatever about this field. And beyond that, why don't we just go around real quick, starting with Terry, and just fill in what I didn't give in your intro.
No, you talked more about me than I've talked about myself in 17 years, so it's not much. Not much more I can say.
Perfect. Jack, what did I miss?
Yeah, nothing.
Oh, professional, not professional, soon-to-be professional figure athlete and competitive athlete, I guess. I forgot that.
There you go.
Let's see the guns. Come on.
Woo!
Tom, what did I miss?
Well, you had it backwards, Chris. I actually went from champion bodybuilder to outlaw biker. It's just like that's been my dream for a long time, and finally manifesting. So, other than that, I think that's pretty much about it.
I never knew they called those things with 3 wheels a bike, but never mind.
They do. It's a tricycle, but you'll get it figured out.
Mr. Bornstein, I'm sure I missed something on you.
No, you called me a man, so I'm pretty satisfied right now. I could drop the mic right now and walk off and feel pretty good about all of this. I guess I have love for women too and right for them, but otherwise I'll just take being a man. That's good for me.
Adam Bornstein, man. All right. Well, I guess, maybe a definition of health would be a good place to start. And what does health mean? What does it mean to you to be healthy? I'll start with Tom.
Wow. Well, for me, I guess since I've had the opportunity to experience, and I think like most of us at some point in our life, I've had the opportunity to experience something other than health. In fact, what's really interesting, at the point in my life, certainly, I mean, eliminating this whole outlaw biker thing and the drugs and the alcohol and everything that went along with it and the crazy lifestyle, that notwithstanding, when I ultimately did immerse myself in the world of bodybuilding, when I looked my absolute best, I was probably the least healthiest I've ever been. Dehydrated, undernourished, depleted, ready to die, but looked great. So for me, the idea is to look good still, but be able to function, be able to do anything I want at any time I want, mountain bike, hike. I mean, I live in Colorado, and it's a great place to be able to do it all. And that's really what health is all about, having the energy to be able to be productive in my business as well.
Super. Jack, how do you define health? Anything you want to add or subtract from that?
Yeah, I would have to agree. I would say it's feeling good, being able to do the things that you want to do, whether that's climb a mountain or just ride a bike with your kids and play ball outside. Feeling all around good in your own skin, being able to wake up in the morning and, breathe and move and eating healthfully, and everything in moderation. I'm not, it's not an end-all be-all situation. But for me, it's all about feeling good inside your skin and being happy.
Adam, what else did we miss in this?
I think everyone's covering it pretty well, but it is definitely, I think the key here is there's 2 aspects. One is this personalized approach. The more you personalize it to you, the more it's going to feel like your health, rather than there's this antidote for generalized health. It's what is healthy to you, so is your health. There's your aspect, and then the sustainable aspect. Sometimes, you have to find this blend of what makes you feel awesome, but also what you can do for the long term. Tom was talking about, he might have, looked great at one point, but it's not really sustainable if you're feeling dehydrated and beaten down. So you kind of have to weigh out the balance of, what's important to you. If looking good is important, at what cost are you looking good? Is it that you are completely drained, or that you have to be doing things that completely almost takes over your lifestyle? So I think that balance of health is about finding that happy balance within your own lifestyle of what is sustainable. And that's what makes it easier for anyone to really feel healthy and follow out whatever that plan may be.
Terry, you're a surgeon, and very specifically, you do a lot of surgery that you work hard to convince people not to get. What are we missing in the definition of health for you? Or how do you help somebody who's come into your room who maybe has 100+ pounds to lose understand what healthy is going to mean for them?
I think that a lot of it is too many people start enjoying where they are. They become complacent where they are. They get the idea that this is life and where they should be at XYZ age. And they don't realize that the health is a lot more than that. So it's very easy to say, I'm 56 years old, so I should be a little tired, and it's okay to be worn out, and etc. But what's going on inside, what I see in people's side, is anything but healthy. And they have expectations that they've lowered and lowered and lowered as time has gone on. So I like telling my patients this. You remember when you were in college or in high school and you had your first job, and at 5 o'clock was when life began. That's when you got out and got to be with your friends and do everything. The job was just how you earn money to do everything. And if you start finding yourself at 5 o'clock saying, I gotta go home and rest, and the only time you have left is your weekend, and then the weekend becoming charged, you don't have health. So we can't expect that. My 85-year-old father, after having hernia surgery, asked me 3 days later, could I have a little bit of Tylenol? And I said, one Tylenol? You've had a hernia this day? How did you get the hernia? Well, I was lifting these 100-pound bags of cement to build a fence in the backyard for my mother. It's like, that's what I want to be when I'm 85 years old, doing that. So we have expectations of what health is, but it's not, and there are certain age limitations, there's no doubt about it, but those expectations are frequently not met.
One of the questions that was asked just now by Brian was that health is relative, and how do you determine specifically what's healthy for you? I mean, I guess I'm wondering if there's sort of like, T. Barry Brazelton, who does touch points for kids, that says, around age 3, you maybe should expect your kid to know how to do this. I wonder if there's really any lineup for that, because, as you pointed out, if your pop was throwing around 100-pound bags of cement, and that's how he got his whoops hernia, not every 80-something-year-old is chucking 100-pound bags. I wonder who wants to go with that kind of answer, like who has an idea of how to talk about relative health, Tom?
Well, that's the whole thing about the lifestyle. That's the whole issue about the lifestyle and what we have to do for ourselves. I love kids. Yeah, I have a 3-year-old at my age, so I just discovered I love kids. So your lifestyle really can impact what you are able to do or not able to do. So even if you are young and, the hardest thing in the world is when I see someone who's 32 years old, weighs 200 pounds more than they should, and has no idea what they're going to do with themselves. Or the 17-year-old that weighs 100 pounds more than they should. They should be doing limitless things at that point. Now, when you get 60 years old and you have a bad heart and you can't see straight, you have bad lungs, we have a different set of expectations. But the problem is that most individuals simply aren't taking the time to take care of themselves first, and then they say it's okay for me to be tired and not have the energy and not do everything I used to do.
I get you. So, if you've already done the baseline and whatever, then there's a reason to say it. Hey, Tom, you've written for Fitness Over 40, for example, and things like that. What's your take on this one?
Well, I think it's a great subject matter, because Terry hit something perfectly there, which was the expectations. And the biggest challenge most of us face is that we have certain expectations about ourselves as we chronologically age. We expect to be old at this point. We have this preconceived notion that at 65, we're like, you're 65, what do you expect? You're 80, how much can you do? You know what I mean? And a lot of that is just, programming. We've programmed ourselves to anticipate being at a certain level. Terry, you also illustrate that, you mentioned your age, but at the same time, you've got a 3-year-old. You've just recently discovered most men, in later years wouldn't even expect or want or anticipate doing something like that. And the same thing for health and fitness, certainly.
We're not talking about mental health here.
Well, you might go a little nuts having a 3-year-old at this point.
That's another whole storyline.
I really believe that most of it is based on our own preconceived notions, ideas, self-programming, blueprinting of what we anticipate we're going to be capable of doing. I'll be 55 this year, and I tell you, man, I really truly feel the healthiest I've ever been, ever. And I'm doing more now than I've ever done. Living in Colorado, I'm a New Yorker, you don't do as much. You know, you're here in Colorado, you do stuff, you have fun with this stuff. And it's keeping me fit. And having a wife that's 14 years younger is not hurting either, I will tell you that. She's keeping me young. But the expectations are so critical, and you can change those expectations based on your own behavior and how you start to respond to the behavioral changes. So a lot of that can change in terms of our own expectations.
Jack and Adam, I have one for you. Adam from the audience as well is saying that he's trying to figure out how to have more energy because he's doing manual labor 50 to 60 hours a week. He used to love running, but he's just beat and exhausted after 50 to 60 hours of manual labor. What's your recommendation? I'll start with Jack.
Well, sometimes you have to go in the opposite direction. Sometimes you have to, in order to get more energy, you have to start with self-care. So if you're spending 50 to 60 hours doing manual labor, maybe you need to start with, looking into walking or meditation or breathing exercises or getting massage, doing things to take care of yourself to be able to recover and recruit and get back that energy so that you then have more energy to do other physical things. So sometimes you have to bring it down and really, take some time to care for yourself physically and mentally and spiritually, spending time with people that you love and doing things like that.
I love the holistic approach.
Or less time with people you love.
if that's the problem, maybe. Adam, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with a really good friend the other day about how there are people and also things in life that are either energy givers or energy suckers. And you want to think about, the people that you surround yourself, obviously, the more positive they're going to be around you, it's going to have an impact, and the people who are really negative are going to weigh you down. It's the same thing with your fitness. If you have a job that is very, very taxing and very draining, and there's nothing you can do about that, and it's not necessarily problematic, you have to make sure that you have enough things that are, reinvigorating energy back in your life to give you that energy to do that exercise. Because while exercise is great or going for those runs are tremendous, and one could argue that those are energy givers, they still take a certain amount of energy to perform. So if you're not sleeping well, if you're not, giving yourself enough nutrition, if you're not surrounding yourself with enough things that give you that balance, people really feel energized when they have balance. When your life is just work, 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 you might not realize it, but there's not enough to offset that to give you the energy to want to go to sleep, because you're going to want to sit on your couch or just, have a moment to stop moving. So you have to think about that balance. If you have this 50 or 60 hours that is just draining you, what are you doing that's going to put back in to offset that, so that you can carve out that 30 or 60 minutes to run, or else you're just going to end up feeling worse by going ahead and adding another energy draining activity, say a run, when you're already completely drained, and then you start feeling even worse. It's this repetitive cycle that people get into where they start doing things that they feel they should do, they feel they're supposed to do, and then when it's not feeling the way it should, I'm doing exercise, I feel bad, or I go for a run and I'm much slower, it starts this vicious cycle rather than slowing down. Oftentimes I say it applies in business, it applies in life. Sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. And
the
I think
body
if you
needs
take a
to
step
recover.
back. Yeah, sometimes you take a step back, it changes everything.
Let me go into my next question. Adam really liked that, by the way. Stefano had asked a question on Twitter, but then brought it all over to here. And I'll go to the next set of panel questions that I had created, but I like this question. Is there kind of a better time of day to exercise? I have a hard time finding time during the day, and I wanted to start doing a little more exercise. What would you think? So, Tom, what do you think to that answer?
Well, I take Ambien, so I get up around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I train unconsciously. I do what's called sleep training. I just get up, and I go out, and I... in the middle, I have no idea why I'm sore the next morning, but now I've got it figured out. But really, for me, honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with your own body clock. I have never been a morning person in terms of getting up early, training. However, I find for my business day and to really get going, to get energized for the rest of the day, it is the time to train. I train at 7:30 a.m. When I was bodybuilding, it would be 5:30 a.m. I've never really fully, enjoyed the process, but it's something I embrace because I know it's really important, and it impacts the whole rest of my day. I personally, chronologically, sort of like on my body clock says 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've maybe gotten a little nap in, I've eaten a couple of meals, I've geared up, I'm mentally ready, and boom, I get in there and I train hard. But unfortunately, it doesn't work as well for my business day. So I work out when I can and when I think it's going to have the greatest impact on my day.
Would anyone say anything different than that? Because Jack, I know you work out at 5 because that's before getting everybody off to school and work and all that. And, I work out about an hour or so after that just so I can feel like I slept in on, instead of her. Does anyone have a different point of view besides just kind of work out when you can squeeze it in and usually earlier is better? Nope.
You have to plan it. It's like everything else where you have to plan those things around in your life.
I'll buy that. People get all thrown by this whole fitness and health thing. I know that there's a bunch of people who signed up for this that said, I just really can't get myself around it. I can't get into it. There's, I always start and then I finish. And, people just really don't know what to do when they start. What's everybody's first point of view for starting? Terry, I'll start with you. When somebody wanders into your world, what do you do to have people start the program, whatever you're going to give them?
Well, first I want them to have a feedback mechanism so they know what they're going to do, so they can see where their life is going. So I say, get one of these little devices, whatever device you like, so you can measure it. See where you are now, start something small, even if it's walking. I'm talking about people who are very out of shape, have compromised hearts perhaps, lungs. So it's like, just walk around the block, walk in your pool, but start measuring so you can see it. Because in a year from now, when you're having a hard time saying, wow, I'm having a hard time, you can look back and see what you memorialized at the start of the process. Without measuring it, you really can't manage it.
Jack, we had that conversation on stage live at the 140U conference. What's your sort of first step you give to people, and or what else are your thoughts on what Terry might have said?
Well, I think it comes down to kind of taking a look and seeing what's doable, what's something small that we can start with. I think that with the myriad of diet books that's out there and the programs and everything, everybody wants to jump into everything at once. I want to do weights, and I want to do cardio, and I want to be working out 5 to 7 days a week, and I want to be eating clean, and boom, 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 boom. And I think that, people start and they do it for a week or 2 or a month, and then after that, it's like, you can't maintain that kind of pace, and you have to build up to it. You don't just switch from not having a healthy lifestyle to all of a sudden, doing everything perfect. Nobody is perfect. So I like to walk in the morning and or changing something in the nutrition. My perspective in terms of nutrition, especially when somebody is going from complete junk food into, trying to eat more healthy, is not to really take away the junk food, but to start adding in healthier things. So add in 1 vegetable or 2 vegetables or some fruit, and you progress and you add on. And the more you add as time goes by, little by little, the junk food kind of weeds itself out little by little, because then there's less room for that. I find that works a lot, very well for a lot of people, because it goes contrary to the mindset that they're not allowed to have things, or that all of a sudden they feel deprived. So if you feel like you're kind of adding stuff to it, then it'll kind of weed itself out. And as far as measurement, I'm a big fan of pictures. Personally, I don't do the scale because numbers screw with my head. We talked about that this morning. Measuring tapes are good sometimes if you do well with that kind of thing. But I really love to see pictures. I take pictures of myself every 3 weeks and compare, and my clothes, and that's how I'm able to tell where things are going.
Cool. Tom, first moves.
Well, I hope you don't mind the addition of my little schnauzer here. You guys are okay with that, right? That's actually my beard. I've got you beat up there, Terry. Well, one of the things certainly, I always like to look at the mindset first, because I know that the thing that's going to challenge most people in terms of sticking with whatever program they decide to design and or pull for themselves that may or may not work, it begins with the mindset. So there are 2 things primarily that I work with people on in my coaching. One is find the leverage. Find that thing, especially for business owners. We get so busy as entrepreneurs, and we're constantly striving, working. We think we have to put in those 12, 16-hour days, and many times we have to. But at the same time, if we connect what else is important in terms of our health, our wellness, our energy, our vibrance, that is, in my opinion, there's really no separating yourself from your business, especially if you're a small business entrepreneur. You are your business. So if you're not taking care of yourself, creating that energy and that vibrance in your life and managing all of those things, And the way to get leverage in terms of sticking with a program is to connect those dots, you might say. So I have people connect the dots and find the leverage that goes beyond just trying to look good. Well, I know I need to eat better, and God, I've been wanting to do this thing. No, this is connected inseparably from your business, from your relationships, from the other aspects of your life that are perhaps higher on your perceived values list. Now let's connect those high values to the health and fitness, to exercising, to eating better. So that's probably one of the most important things that we work on, gaining that perspective, getting the leverage so that, and keeping that leverage in front of you. We know that most people do more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure, right? The pleasure is looking good, feeling good, having the energy, but the pain is whatever got you to start the program in the first place. The looking in the mirror, looking at that picture saying, oh my God, I can't possibly look that bad, can I? So you got to hold on to that. You got to remember that a little bit, as well as the pleasure, at least until the new behavior
I wish you had some enthusiasm.
becomes a habit. Say again? Oh,
I wish you had some enthusiasm.
Yeah, you can.
Come on, people!
Wow. Adam,
I hope I hope a little of that made sense.
Oh, it all made sense. I had a little side comment, which was that when you talked about the before picture, it's funny. We all have a before picture. There's no way we're ever going to show, and then we have the one that we show as the official before picture, and there's the wake up picture. Adam, what's everyone's first step? And then I have a question that you might have a good answer for.
I'm still trying to get over Tom going all Donkey Kong over there and pounding the desk. I don't even know what happened.
Red.
It's
my dog. My dog was actually biting me under the camera.
We needed the pickup. We're not all drinking whatever Chris has over there, so we need to just go off something. I think the first step is it really just syncs with what everyone else has said so far, and part of it is like meeting people where they are. So people have to have this very introspective awareness of what can I do well, because just like Jack was talking about, when you try and go ahead and make progress, you want to make it almost too easy to fail. And that's, almost counterintuitive. People are like, oh, I've got to climb this big mountain, and once I get over this mountain, then everything will become easier. No, we are creatures of reinforcement, and positive reinforcement works better than anything. You accomplish a little bit, and then suddenly you think you can take on a little bit more. You can take on a little bit more. It's almost taking this process type approach. I teach college students, and a lot of them will come into me, and like their first thing is they're complaining about their grades, or they're stressing about their grades. And I come in and I'm just like, stop stressing about the grades. And I don't say that from a stop stressing about the grades standpoint. I'm saying you have your focus on the wrong thing. If you focus on first making sure that you are studying enough or going over the materials and bit by bit just taking on these small bits that you can handle, you're going to end up with a good grade. And it comes with the same thing with diet and exercise. If you know you can't make it initially to the gym 3 times a week, why are you going to set that goal? Why would you set yourself up for failure and then end up getting down on yourself, feeling bad, and then, essentially just sabotaging yourself? So whether it's adding something, like Jack's talking about, or whether it's going ahead and, intertwining it with your life, what your job is to take a step back and be like, what can I actually do? What is so easy that I can do? Maybe it's tracking foods. Maybe that's it. Maybe your first step is I'm just going to track everything, and then I'm going to get that biofeedback and be like, man, I really shouldn't be eating 17 Twinkies a day. I wish they went back to removing those as a food that, what happened to the days when we couldn't even get those anymore? Whatever that process is, make it so easy that you can succeed. And that progress, that success breeds more success. And nothing is more important in diet and fitness than that, because it is tough. For most people, everyone's like, don't give me the busy excuse. Don't give me the excuse I don't have enough time. A lot of people struggle with time, let's be honest. It's a busy schedule, so it takes some work to fit that in there. It doesn't mean it can't be done. It just means grab onto that lowest dangling fruit, bite in, enjoy, and then go from there.
So my buddy Harm's Way Chad, also known as Chad Pickens to you civilians, has a question. He has the Men's Health Urbanathlon coming up this weekend in San Francisco. He does CrossFit 3 to 4 times a week, runs 3 to 5 miles in between those days. Is there anything else I should be doing to add to my training?
Kind of a slacker, isn't he?
I tell you. and according to Chad's Instagram, which I follow religiously, he's running a race a week practically. So I didn't hear anything that I missed, except I don't know anything about his nutrition. Anyone else want to throw something on for Chad to do in between those 3 to 4 CrossFits and 3 to 5 miles of running in between?
Maybe save a burning building? I don't know.
That was bad.
Go to yoga.
Go to yoga.
Yeah, I was going to say some body work.
Yoga.
Yeah. Yep, yoga, something that'll maintain the structural integrity of it more. Because you pound it on the body, man. CrossFit pounds on it, so does running.
Yeah.
So make sure you're getting some body work. Make sure you're getting,
And
a
massage.
specialist stretching you, all of that. Even yoga would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack, if by any chance you have extra apps open on your device, you might want to knock a few of them down. We keep getting the transformer effect. Which is interesting, but if you have some extra apps, kill them.
I thought she was in the Matrix. It was kind of cool for me. I was enjoying it.
It was.
Good vocalizing. All right, Chad, hopefully that answered. By the way, don't hesitate to ask questions, those of you who are here live with us into the Q&A. I've got a bunch more, but it's always fun to get yours. My next thought for the panel is that I used to futz around with my fitness. The moment I took a plan very seriously, though, things changed. And I actually, first thing I really did very seriously is trained with Jack's coach, Mike Davies, who has trained 200 or so plus pro athletes, etc. And when I took his plan and actually followed it word for word, is when I got my first results. But that was me. How do people put together a plan that's going to work best for them? Maybe I'll start with Tom. How do you put a plan together that works best for the person?
Well, I think certainly, if you've got some knowledge and you've done a good deal of reading, and there's certainly a lot of information out there that you can gather to be able to put your own program together for the most part, kind of decide what you want to do. Certainly if you're someone who excels doing things on your own, then there's so many different activities that you can engage in. Certainly yoga, you can do bodybuilding, you can do any number of things. If you prefer tribal, group programs where you gather energy from others, and CrossFit and many others, and a boot camp style training would be ideal for you. If not, there's so many different programs that you can pull from magazines, you can pull from books, you can certainly pull from guys like my friend John Benson and John Rowley online. They have great programs. But the key here is that any program is better than no program for the most part. It's like any nutrition program, really. I'm going out on a limb there because I know some are probably pretty detrimental, but it's certainly better than no program, no structured eating habits at all. So the key is to get onto something, get started. And just as Adam said earlier, start with something you can handle. Don't tackle too much, man. Hey, we all have willpower challenge on a daily basis, especially if you're an entrepreneur, an owner, a business manager. Those willpower challenges will pile up, and we don't have infinite will. We just don't. So try to take on too much with a new program. Hey, I'm going to start this incredible new paleo diet, and I'm going to do CrossFit 6 days a week. It's just going to be too much. Adam hit it on the nose, man. Start with something you can deal with. Start with something that sort of works into your lifestyle and feels or sounds interesting to you. Commit to it, take action, and make sure you go long enough that it starts to become a habit. You can start it on your own. You can certainly find great programs out there.
Absolutely. Adam, what's your thought on this one?
I couldn't have said it much better than Tom there. I will add that, the benefit of finding a program or someone to work with is, one, obviously that accountability. They're going to make sure you are actually doing it, which can be a barrier to a lot of people. When you have to answer to someone else, it's not only that you're letting yourself down, you're letting someone else down. And there is definitely psychological mechanisms that will keep you in line then, because there's nothing worse than, just checking in and being like, yeah, I didn't do it again. And we don't want that. We don't want that feeling, which is important. And I will say the benefit of making sure that you don't create your own program, whether you pay for a service or you grab something from a magazine or whatever it might be, is that, from a subconscious level, we just do what we like. We do what we're good at, and oftentimes we need to do the stuff that we're not good at. And the best way to do this is let someone else handle your programming. I don't even design my own training programs because I know I will play to my strengths. And even though I know it's not good to do that, when designing it, be like, well, do I really want to go ahead and do these single leg Romanian deadlifts when I can just go ahead and deadlift a bunch of weight on 2 legs, which is a lot easier for me? No, do I want to do a Bulgarian split squat, which is going to be terrible and make my legs shake? I'll just do a regular squat. It'll be okay. It'll be just the same. No, going ahead and making sure that you have someone who's going to be honest with you and keep you honest, and then you take that biased equation out of it. Sometimes we can be our own worst enemy in the fact that we do what's easier for us, and if we have to answer to someone else, if we put that in their hands, the less that we have to think on creating this program, the easier it is to just pour all of our focus into it. And a lot of people ask me, what's the most important thing when you go training? When you get into that gym, you should be 100% focused. If you're going on a walk, you should be 100% focused. If you're going on a swim, be completely focused, because all of that energy then will go into that activity, and that's going to make a world of difference in whatever activity it is that you choose.
Yeah, I have one recommendation for that. The minute you go into the gym, get into airplane mode on your phone. It is the biggest thing that's really helped me in the focus department, is because I'll get a text and it'll be something work related or something, or Jack will be asking me a question, and she's really good at it because she knows, my workout times, but someone else will, text me or bother me, and next thing you know, I'm doing work and I'm not doing my workout. The other thing to say about, starting a plan is I was thinking about you, Adam, because there's so much thrashing. I mean, you could just, pick any magazine and do, you could buy 5 of them a month and just start trying all of them, and nothing happens. I've done it. I think I'll do this plan. And if you don't stick with something, you're just never going to know.
That's really important. I will add to that. Yeah, because people get exercise ADD. And you don't want that to happen. You either follow one type of program or one type of post and just go in that direction.
Yeah, that's me. That's absolutely me. I think I need a new plan from yesterday. I
think the other thing is that you really need it. It never ever hurts to get a professional, and because the problem is that as many magazines are out there and as many programs are out there, some of them make no sense and have no basis in reality and are what someone thought and got published. You really need someone who is a professional that can help guide you, whether it's nutrition, whether it's working out, because if you don't have that, you're kind of at the mercy of what you probably aren't familiar with, and that's not always good. You can injure yourself. If you have a professional there, they can help you so you're not going to get injured. They can guide you along things and say, yeah, it's kind of crazy if you do that, add a little bit of this or change that. It's worth paying a small price for a professional instead of being the amateur and becoming injured.
Oh, yeah.
And then you really go back.
I can't believe after 25 years, I'm now since retired from personal training, but after 25 years of personal training, I didn't suggest that. How did I miss that? You guys are awesome. That's the way. You got to get someone. You got to get someone to guide you, to push you, to promote. And also the other side of that is that you're going to feel so much more confident with your routine. You just pull one or make one up yourself. You're not going to feel that confident after a couple of weeks or so. Maybe you're not seeing the results, and you're going to want to.
Maybe you'll try a different program.
Yeah. If you're with a pro and someone's guided you, you feel a lot more confident about doing it.
I just didn't want to sell myself, but yeah, you guys, what do you guys say? Go and hire someone, guys.
Bornfitness.com, you can get all kinds of great programs. And if I designed my own program, there would never be such a thing as a plank. Oh my golly. There's nothing I love more than, being perfectly still on a mat like this and then smashing my belly and then my face into my own phone. Jack, a question to you, or I'll throw it to you. This is for those of you who meditate. Do you have a specific daily routine about it? So do you want to talk through, kind of meditation and meditation plans, Ms. Mind Body Medicine PhD student? Nope, we lost.
She's meditating right now.
I don't have a plan for me. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. And I would say that if somebody that was just starting with meditation, that you should start small, like 3 minutes. That's it. Can you hear me?
You're going in and out. If you have a lot of apps open, close everything but your browser. Because we're getting that transformer effect like most every answer.
I have nothing open.
I've never seen that true on your laptop, but okay.
I have nothing.
All right.
You gotcha.
But okay, I guess we'll go back to that one for a second. So Brett asked a question. Terry, I'll give it over to you really quick. Can you describe a good daily meal plan? And I mean, talk about it. It depends.
Wow. Well, it depends. It depends. What is your accomplish? What are you trying to get? Are you trying to have to where you want a plan to build muscle? Are you wanting a plan to lose weight? Are you wanting a plan to maintain where you are? That depends. I like lists a lot because when you have lists, you say, these are the things I must have every day. And most people agree with a lot of these things. Every day you ought to have some green leafy vegetables. Every day you ought to have some fruits, a minimal amount of nuts. 3 times a week have some oily fish, and then go from there. But it's going to be specific to what your needs are. Because someone who wants to lose 100 pounds, it's going to be like, all right, you're going to lose 100 pounds, but we're going to do it over 2 years without surgery. We do it with surgery, it'll be a lot less, but it'll be 2 years. And this is the plan, and it's gradual, and it's going to change. Someone wants to build more muscle mass. We're going to add it slowly, but it's going to change. We're not going to overwhelm you with protein and knock out a kidney or two. We're going to be very careful. So nutrition is one of those things that there's a lot of woo in food. There's a lot of pseudoscience in food. So you really have to go with what is the evidence, science-based medicine approach, what are the things that we need, and you really got to be very, very balanced in it. You really have, sort of like when you gave me your plan, it was like, all right, let me plug this in. Let's see how much of these things are in there that we know that we need. And if it doesn't meet it somewhere, then we have an issue.
And it turned out my plan was great.
It was.
Hey, Jack.
But it was changed last week.
Yes, I definitely made some changes for sure. Jack, I was going to go to you next, and then I want to hear from other people. But I mean, you've just came off of doing a competition, so you were forced to eat very clean and very specific, and eat this at this time for the last little while. What's your stance on food and nutrition in general, especially being that you have a master's in that science?
It's pretty simple, mostly green, and if you're not a vegetarian, then,
That's what happens if you're not a vegetarian.
organic and antibiotic-free meats. I'm not anti-junk food, and I'm not anti, good stuff, glass of wine here and there. And I would just say that you kind of have to, plan it out like everything else, in terms of you have to know what your limits are. I know that there are things that I can't have just one of, and so I stay away from those things. But then there are other goodies that I can have once in a while and take them or leave them. I think it depends on what makes you feel good. There are foods that people eat that they like, but don't necessarily agree with their system. I would say start there. I would say start green.
Tom,
I agree. I think the other,
Go ahead.
the whole other part about being green and eating that way is never deprive yourself. She hit it right on the head. Two things never work in weight loss, and that's shame and deprivation. Neither one of them work. So when patients come in and say, I've eaten ice cream every day this week, it's like, okay, was it really that good ice cream? Well, it was McDonald's. Well, that's really whipped Crisco, isn't it? Yeah. Tell me your best ice cream. Well, I like this ice cream. Okay, have it once a week. Go out. Don't keep it in your house. Go out once a week and have it and enjoy it, because you deserve it. But if you have it every night, it's not going to accomplish your goal. So shame and deprivation never work. And a lot of the diet plans that are out there may not work for you either. So you really, again,
Right. And I think the goal, I would. I have people. Can you hear me again?
Not really. Maybe if this is the saddest thing I'm ever going to.
Facial expression.
The saddest thing I'm going to say out loud ever in my life is the most beautiful person on the entire webinar. Maybe if you killed your video, you'd have enough signal so we could hear.
All right.
All right, go.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, it just got so ugly all of a sudden on this video.
Wow, this is.
Can you hear me now? That sounds familiar.
Can you hear me now? I think that goal, what your goals are is really important too. And when I was training, and I was training for my competition, obviously, and I was eating specific things, and people were seeing the changes in my body, and then they automatically wanted to know, well, what are you eating, and what time of day are you eating, and how are you eating that? But what I'm doing for my competition has nothing to do with what fits into your lifestyle or what's realistic for somebody to just start doing, but they want to do it because they see that it's getting a certain kind of result. And I think that that's a thing that people don't necessarily consider, is how it fits into your life and what makes sense for you to do and what your goals are versus what you see somebody else doing and getting them results that won't necessarily work for you, or is not the right plan.
Tom, you did the Mr. America thing. I mean, you had to go through that crazy clean eating path and all that. I mean, what's changed between then and, what's your kind of dietary mantras now?
It's interesting because back then when I was training for competition, I actually, ultimately, it took a while. It took a few years of competing, quite frankly, to break myself up. Because I was competing in the early 80s, even the late 70s as a teenager. And I was indoctrinated early by some of these bodybuilders then. It was just, you opened a can of tuna 5 times a day and you drank a lot of water, and that was pretty much it. And I was indoctrinated into that. And I tell you, man, it almost destroyed me the first few years. It really did. And then I got a really great coach, and I learned some things that worked. Number one, I had to have a lot of essential fatty acids in my diet. That was critical for keeping the skin supple, keeping my energy, my joints healthy during this intense process of training twice a day. But I also started eating a lot more greens. I would have a small portion of protein. It might have been a salmon or a little swordfish, even some lean beef, for example. And I would have monstrous bowls of lightly steamed green vegetables with that, with a little seasoning, maybe a little olive oil on there. And I would have that 4 or 5 times a day. And I tell you, the thermogenic effect that I would get from eating that many vegetables, plus the healthy aspects of all those antioxidants, was extraordinary. The last 2 years of my bodybuilding career, I felt the best. I'd never felt that healthy on stage before, and I just felt fantastic. So I pretty much keep with that same plan today. I'll make a few exceptions. I eat relatively gluten-free for the most part. In the morning, I'll have a slice of gluten-free bread with organic peanut butter and a little bit of jelly on it. That gets me started. A few hours later, I'll have a protein drink, a really good supplement protein drink with greens in it as well. From there, it could be eggs. I love eggs, man. And, and again, my nutrition plan, my diet certainly isn't going to work for everybody. And not only that, but there's a lot of people that say, hey, you shouldn't be eating eggs. You should be eating jelly. Peanut butter is probably not the best thing for you. But at the same time, it's what I can live with. It's what I'm comfortable with, what produces results. But
well, a lot of those people are just, a lot of those people are wrong.
Lots of greens. Pardon me?
A lot of those people are wrong when they say these things are bad for you, because they're based not on good science or evidence. They're based on large population studies. I mean, we just did several experiments over 3 years of a gentleman Ivo Terra, who I was his doctor, who for 1 month he ate sausage and drank 6 beers a day, 1,500 calories.
I want that diet.
It's a great diet. He wrote a book, but his weight went down 14 pounds. His cholesterol came down by a third. His triglycerides came down. His anti-inflammatory, everything came down. And everybody was saying, well, the vegans were saying that's terrible because he's eating sausage, and the paleo people are saying it's terrible he's drinking beer. Both were saying it wouldn't work, and 3 years in a row, every October, it's worked. 1 month he did nothing but eggs and beer. Same thing, cholesterol comes down. So we don't know a lot of things that we take for granted and say. And that's one of the issues with this.
I just didn't want to be around him during the fart phase of the beer and egg part of the diet. I just thought that
is the downside. That's the downside of eating all those eggs and eating even a lot of greens for them, a lot of fiber. I mean,
oh my gosh. People who eat healthy have stinky toots, no question. Adam, what's your diet like? Oh, well, I'm not outing you.
It sounds like you're talking from experience.
I'm not saying a word. Adam, what's your diet like?
I don't even know where to go from here because Terry just shared the kegs and eggs diet. And Tom used the word of the day when he said supple, and I'm really upset that he beat all of us to it. So
I was waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah, I know. It's like the buzzword. Everyone take a shot. Yeah, my diet, I'm kind of the anti-dogmatic approach, and it's pretty much what everyone is saying here, that, we talked about figuring out what works for you. This whole conversation began with what is health, what is healthy. And it was about finding out what works for you. And there's a lot of different diets out there. And the big secret that's not such a secret is that, there's no one size fits all. And the people who come up with these diets because they either have a product to sell or a book to sell or, an axe to grind with something else will tell you this is the end all be all diet. And it might work great for some people, but if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't feel forced into it. So, my diet is jumped all over the place by figuring out what works for me. I used to be someone who would eat 6 meals a day, and I would get up extremely early. I would get up at like 4:30 in the morning just so I could eat, wait an hour and a half, then go to the gym. And at some point it wasn't really sustainable for me. And then, I played around with a variation of intermittent fasting, and then played around with intermittent fasting where I would fast some and then eat just 3 larger meals a day and snack less. And it was always about, factoring in my lifestyle, my social life, my family, my wife, my work, what was working best, and figuring out what foods I responded really well to. I will say, which everyone has said, you add greens to your diet, it's going to make it easier for you in every way, shape, and form. You're getting a lot more macronutrients. It allows you to eat a lot more. There's this idea of volumetrics. When someone goes on a diet, they have to eat less. But if you eat these really nutrient-dense foods that you can eat a lot more of without getting as many calories, it allows you to feel like you're not being deprived. You eat more of that, you can still eat the foods that you like, but you're going to end up eating less from them because you're just filled up. All that fiber, we'll skip the gas aspect of it, but all of it does work.
You just have to be careful with a lot of fiber, because a lot of how do bears not defecate on themselves when they're hibernating for 3 months? Is they eat a ton of fiber before they go to sleep, and the answer is that too much fiber can lead to constipation.
And you know what?
There's a private conversation going on there.
It did, though. When I was training for competition, I was eating that much fiber. It was too much. I can remember having bloated belly because it was just, it would back you up, and it would literally make you feel bloated and constipated. So it was overdoing it. So I agree with you 100% on that, Terry. No question
I think the big thing that I've always pushed for my patients is start cooking. Start learning to love food from the aspect of cooking. And start small, but the more you get into food and you like food and you see products and you go to the market and you say, wow, this is a fresh ripe peach, as opposed to the peach that's in the store that was ripened essentially after it was picked raw and was dying, there's a big difference. And when people start learning to cook and loving food and enjoying food, they start getting a little bit immunized against junk food, and that's a great place to be. And when you become the foodie when you're traveling, then you're the one they're going to go to and say, where do you want to go for a restaurant? But if nobody does that, they'll end up going to some mindless chain restaurant that serves junk and lots of it. Because most mindless chain restaurants are where I get my patients from.
There's a sentence. So I'm going to go right from that. That's exactly the perfect segue into one of our last 2 questions, and we have to keep it a little bit Twitter shaped. Remember, you playing along live with us right now, make sure you throw your questions in the Q&A section. You'll never have a chance to get this kind of panel together again, but I'll explain how to get us later. Eating out and eating while on the road seems to really mess a lot of people out. How do you eat while traveling, and what's your secret? Starting with Jack, our phantom person we can hear very well now.
Oh, well, I have my handy dandy 6-pack meal bag that I load up with all kinds of snacks. That's the key for me, is to carry stuff with me, whether it be nuts, fruit, chopped up vegetables, protein. You can take all of that stuff with you through security. You just can't take things that have liquid in them. That are open. I take cans of tuna with a can opener. That goes through security as well. I find that being able to bring my own stuff and just have it on me is a huge help. You don't always know what's going to be on the other side of security that's available. But when that's your only option, I would say definitely there's more often than not, there is a place that serves some type of salad or that sells fruit, that sells nuts. Starbucks now in the terminals and all over has a great selection of fresh pressed juices. They also have these great grilled chicken lettuce wrap things. So there are options there. You just have to actually look for them. I think that sometimes it's easy to kind of just take on the excuse and say, well, I'm traveling and I don't have time to look for healthy things, or they won't have it because it's an airport. But I think that there are now, airports are becoming a lot more conscious. There are airports now that have yoga studios in them. There are airports that have gyms in them. And so I think if you actually take the time to look and see what your options are, if you get some chicken from somewhere, the grilled chicken sandwich is a lot better than getting the whatever double Hubba Bubba triple with cheese. So I would say
I've had one of
to see
those.
what
Yeah.
I had one on the way to this recording.
Damn good. Damn good.
Cool. So you're saying there's a lot of prep
They're
we can
good.
do, and there's a lot that the airports and other places you can grab into. Tom, what's your eating on the road story like?
Well, I mean, the same thing. You just have to be able to exercise those options and keep it, first and foremost in your mind that when you are eating out, you're eating healthy, and there's always healthy choices. It really frustrates me actually when people say, "Hey, I travel a lot and I eat out at restaurants, and I just can't. Just impossible. You can't even." I have never been to a restaurant other than, and even dare I say, McDonald's. Now you can get a salad. You can always make good choices even there for the most part. But I've never been to a restaurant in Denver, New York, California, Atlanta, wherever I've been, that you can't make some healthy choices. Always. You can always get some grilled fish of some kind, poached fish. You can always get some lean beef or some chicken. You can get some kale. You can get order the vegetables. Ask them to come lightly steamed or whatever it might be. You can always, and listen, even if you might look like a bit of a pain in the butt because you're making a special order, it's not that big a deal today. Every restaurant today is willing to accommodate those who are looking to eat a little healthier. Now, we had this great restaurant the other night, and 60% of their menu was gluten-free, which was fantastic. I didn't expect it, but I'm starting to see it more and more. So it just has to be part of your high values. It has to be something you're consciously aware of, and you make healthy choices along the way and not allow yourself to say, the hell with it. I'm on the road. I'm just going to eat whatever I can. No, you're not going to make those decisions. That's part of your lifestyle now.
Because it's a choice. Adam, what's your, what trips you up or what trips your clients up on the road? I mean, I think Tom's right. There are really no excuses anymore, but what's that thing that we are all forgetting somehow in this process?
I think everyone's doing a great job. Part of it that to add to that preparation is just making it easier for you. For me, I think of anything where I give myself an easy out to either not eat well or forget something. The way to overcome it is just to prepare in advance. I'm one of the most forgetful people you ever meet, which is why my Google Calendar is just laid out to remind my brain because it just, I don't know, is clearly focusing on something else, like that burger or whatever Jack was describing earlier than how I want. So it's a matter of when I'm going to a new place, I go and look around beforehand to figure out, okay, where are the different restaurants that I want to go so that I don't find myself in a position where I'm starving. The next thing I do is I just see fast food right there. I plan it in. It almost becomes fun, whether it's business, whether it's for fun. I'm going to go to this restaurant on Monday, this one on Tuesday, this one on Wednesday. I plan it out, and then I don't give myself that excuse. I will plan or prepare if I can have some snacks on me just in case, chaos happens in life. It's not always going to go according to plan. But if I at least have something prepared beforehand, it makes it a little bit of fun to look for, restaurants. And with my online clients, when they're traveling, I help them go ahead and find places that they can go ahead and eat. It's fun for me. I mean, I absolutely love food. I'd be like, hey, you should check out these 3 restaurants. They should be nearby where you are. Go there. It will turn any type of trip into a little bit more enjoyable, but it also limits the likelihood that you'll find yourself in a place that is not going to have the type of food options that you want, or that if you are uncomfortable asking for a change when you really shouldn't be, but if you are, just put yourself in that environment where you don't find yourself in that position where you have to ask.
I used to be so anti-asking people for things, but now I've really made it into fun. Part of it's just watching how Jack orders, and then second is just sort of figuring out, just how exactly to my menu needs can I make this thing. We have just a handful of minutes left. Everybody who wants to ask a question, please throw it into the Q&A section. And in the meantime, I have one kind of last 2-minute-ish question. I think a health-filled mind really keeps my body and food efforts rolling. Does everyone agree? And how do you fill your mind or thoughts with that good material? Tom, I'll start with you because you've really mentioned the link a lot.
Yeah, actually, I think this is so critical. And there is just an inseparable link between mindset and our success in terms of our nutrition, eating, exercise, staying healthy and vibrant in our lives, even as we age or, in our youth for that matter. And for me personally, I mean, there's so much, and I think we can all agree that there's so much negativity out there. And Adam, you mentioned it earlier that that there are people and things that are infectious to us in terms of sapping our energy, and those things that give us energy. I try and listen to very high frequency music, classical music. I like classic rock too. It vibrates at such a higher level than some of the rap and stuff that so many people. Even in my gym, I get into my gym, and this gym is a yoga it's like it's like a yo, it's like this, like they have this persona that they're very mystical, and you walk in and you got this hardcore gangster rap playing. I'm like, wait a minute, man. I mean, it just lowers your energy level and it infects your mind with negativity. So I'm always listening to positive music, number one. And number two, constantly, I mean, my car is an audio university. I'm always listening to biographies about great. I just finished one about Thomas Edison. It was very enlightening, no pun intended, so to speak. And so I'm always trying to inundate myself with things that are positive, reading positive things, and maintaining mental thoughts that are healthy. When something comes into my mind that is unhealthy, I try to eliminate it as quickly as possible. At the very least, not entertain it and shift the energy as quickly as possible. I think too many of us allow those, whatever negative thoughts and or things that are happening around us, to infect us, and then it infects our thought pattern, and that we take into the rest of the day. So I try very hard not to let that happen, and it's become the default mode, and it's getting easier and easier to do.
Dr. Terry Simpson, what do we do to keep this ball rolling?
I think you have to plan. I think the more that you plan and the better that you have things out and planned in your life, that it's going to work better. You know, whether it's going on a trip and planning the restaurants you're going to be, whether it's planning the meals that you're going to cook, whether it's planning your workout routine, and having general guidelines as to what you're going to do is going to be it's going to help. In terms of the negativity, you have to understand that if you're doing better things for yourself, those people are going to be jealous, they're going to be upset, they're going to be negative, and you have to tune them out and realize, instead of confronting them, realize that's their issue and don't buy it. Buy your own issue. You're doing this for you. You have one you. You don't have another. As far as I know, there may or may not be another life after this one, but I got to take care of this one. I'd like to, be around for a little bit to see that 3-year-old at least become 4 or 5. Maybe not a teenager, but
I don't know. Don't sell yourself short. Remember that blueprint. Change it now.
Professor Borenstein, sir, how do we keep the mind and the body rolling?
I think part of it is just, I'm a very ambitious person. I like to push hard towards goals, and it's something that I really, want to imbue, to pretty much fill anyone's life with that. But at the same time, I don't want people to feel they need to be perfect, because I feel so much of that negativity is self-negativity. Terry talked about how as you start to make changes or your life improves, there's going to be people in your life that are going to be negative as a result of that. It's the old haters gonna hate, if you will. And that's part that, you can take steps to that, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to put yourself in a situation where if you didn't eat perfectly for a day or you didn't make it to the gym, that you beat yourself up for that. We talked a lot about these repetitive, dangerous cycles, and so much of what all of us deal with is, fitness and health, a lot of it is psychological as much as physiological. There's a lot of psychological barriers that come into our way, whether, we talk about sometimes people have difficulty envisioning themselves being anything other than what they are right now. If they've been overweight for the first 40 years of their life, they're like, why should I even try? But they create these perceptions, these barriers in their life. And when it comes to eating, when it comes to exercise, there is no perfection. So don't try and achieve it. The goal is just to be as good as you can and get a little bit better each day. And I know that sounds like this really positive, kind of like hokey message, but it's so true. The moment that you step away from that is the moment that you take some of that stress and pressure off. And when you have a bad day, it becomes a lot easier to come back. We know people fall off the wagon. We've all fallen off the wagon at some point with like losing that focus, losing that drive, whatever it is. But it's a lot easier to stay on or not just completely crash when you tell yourself it's okay. You just have to walk that fine line of not telling yourself every single day that it's okay to not do this, to not do that. And it's more about, drawing the line of what is your expectation? What are you trying to achieve here? And it should never be perfection.
Cool. Dr. Jack,
Well
what is your mind and body fuel effort for keeping this ball rolling?
I think it's a combination of all of the things that the guys said. Definitely planning and mindset and what Adam was saying as well. And I think it's also focusing on today, not future tripping. Don't worry about, you don't, of course you keep the bigger goal in mind, but all you can do and the only thing that you can actually work on is the right now. And so as long as you're taking one step and in that direction, and you're doing what you can do, and you're trying to be consistent in taking that one step and building upon it, then to me, that's a huge success, and that will build into something. And I think that we get really caught up in terms of getting to the destination instead of actually enjoying the process. And not that the process is always going to be easy and it's going to be a lot of fun, but you have to be able to be in the moment and to be able to experience it so that, and keep consistent so that you can keep doing it and that it becomes integrated. And the other thing I would say is that for me, that I always want to say to people is that you don't have to settle. Like, you don't have to settle. I wish, and I want more than anything for everybody to know that they can do things. They can achieve their dreams. They can lose that 30 pounds. They can learn how to ski. They can do, for the most part, whatever it is that they want to do. And you don't have to just settle into what you think, what other people expect of you or what you think your limitations are. So I just really want to emphasize that. Please don't settle. Can't hear me again.
Yep, nope, we got you. We only lost a tiny bit. Hey, Dr.
Please
Jack.
settle.
Jack,
Please settle.
turn your camera back on, and we're going to wrap this little baby up. There is one last question that had come around, and I just know that there will be zero of us who have anything negative to say or bad to say or otherwise. That pretty much there was a question.
Hi, Jack.
2 or 3 versions of a question about sleep, and is sleep important? And the answer is kind of like, duh. Yes, sleep is very important. There's all kinds of studies out there right now that are showing that, if you're not getting the average amount of sleep, 8 to 10 hours or something like that, that it can really affect your dietary processes. It can make you get fatter no matter what you're eating, good or bad in a day, etc. There's plenty, obviously, that you lose in your fitness regimen and routine if you are not getting the right kind of hours. And
It refreshes the brain. It allows the brain to restore.
Right.
It's during that time which the CSF goes through the brain and kind of cleans out the neurons. It gives you that refreshing time.
Right.
Besides,
CSF.
if you don't sleep, you don't have those great dreams.
Right. Being chased by spiders with cotton candy feet. All right, I'm going to wrap this baby up. That is Jacqueline Carly on Twitter. She is JCQLY. That is Adam Bornstein on Twitter. He is Born Fitness. That is Tom Terwilliger, TOMTERWILIGER, or is it 2 L's?
2 L, LLIGER.
I always type it wrong, and then I have to go back and ask Twitter if I'm right. Tom Terwilliger with 2 L's, and at Terry Simpson, just spelled as is, and I'm Chris Brogan. Also, don't hesitate to go find all of us monkeys on Instagram. I think we all are hiding out over there as well. Thanks everyone in the panel for your time tonight, and just really giving me the opportunity to showcase some of the great writers hanging out at Owner Magazine at ownermag.com. And so grateful that everybody in the audience could be here. If you didn't get a question answered, you'll get one of those kind of, hey, thanks for attending the webinar doodahs that go to webinar, our sponsor for the webinar sent out. Just hit reply and ask the question, and I'll forward it along to the usual suspects. Thanks everyone for your time. I really appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I've got to hit a button.